Hello, welcome to Fantha Tracks TV. As always, don't forget to like and subscribe to the channel if you haven't already. If you have, thank you very much. And don't forget, we have new content every Wednesday and Saturday. And if something exciting happens, we post that up in between. So we're back to the New Forest Film Comic Con for an interview with Tim Berry and Lee Towersey. Now, they were signing there, and I think this is Tim's first interview, and they're talking all about what it's like to work in the Creature Shop down in the Pinewood Studios for the Star Wars films, and how their experiences happen from being fans into working onto the saga. Quite an interesting talk, this one, so I suggest you get a cup of tea and sit back and listen.
So we're here at Comic-Con at Film New Forest. We're going to do a little chat with Lee and Tim. I have no idea what we're going to talk about. We'll just see where the conversation takes us.
Star Wars, maybe?
Maybe. Okay. Possibly. We might get there before the end. I will start with a random question, because I don't prep questions. I talk to people and I see where it goes. So this could get really random. I'm sorry if we go way out in the weeds.
That's fine.
When, where, how did you first get into Star Wars? What was your launch point for Star Wars?
Like going right back?
Right back to when you were a kid. Presuming you were a kid, you might have gone into it a few years ago, I don't know. But
I don't know. Personally, it was when I was really young.
Yeah.
I think my dad was really into it. And I remember we had... I mean, I was born in 73, so I would have probably been four years old when Star Wars came out. And I always remember Return of the Jedi was being the thing that I remember the most. And I remember we used to have one of those VHS players with the top load of VHS players. And for some reason we had a copy of Return of the Jedi. It must have been out in the cinema. And we had a copy, so it was like a really crappy copy where, it'd be like this and all that kind of stuff. And I just remember obsessing about it, and I just remember watching it all the time. We had that at E.T., I think.
Yes.
But as far as I remember, no, it just something that just stuck with me, and then I just got into it.
Just developed.
Had all the toys,
What was your first figure?
Oh, I don't remember. I can't remember, but I remember we used to go to a lot of jumble sales and pick up toys. But I never had all the toys. I always had friends who had all the toys,
sure.
And I just had a few selections and stuff like that. Yeah. I don't remember specifically, but I just remember certain things. But my dad was always a massive film fan, so I think it was probably his influence that got me into it.
Lee, same question.
Yeah, for me, I was at the perfect age because I was 7 when New Hope came out. So that was one of the first films I saw at the cinema. Blew me away. By then I was already into model making and making Lego kits and what have you.
Yep.
And I was more interested on how everything worked. Spaceships, how they made them fly, and obviously they weren't real, how that happened. And there wasn't much information at the time back in the 70s. So it was difficult to find out, but even like R2-D2, and the robots walking around, how the hell did they do that? I had the fascination from that. And from there I collected the toys. And the obsession grew from there, really.
Star Wars was one of those films, early days, where, like you say, early films, film buffs knew Harryhausen, for example. Mm-hmm. They might have known Doug Trumbull from 2001. But when it got to Star Wars, Dykstra, and all those names started to come out, so kids of our age, started to get to know the filmmakers. Did you cotton on to that? Was that something you thought, there's people behind this, and I'm interested in how they do it, because this is what you do now?
Yeah. I think so, because I always say film is my religion. For a young age, I was never really outgoing. I was quite a shy kid and all that kind of stuff. And films was always my thing. I always used to go to films, no matter what. I used to be obsessed by it. And it's from an early age, I used to buy all the books, all the magazines. There were some great shops down in Brighton where I used to go down to, and they used to have all the amazing books. And just got obsessed by it. That just kind of led into a career, I guess. So.
For me, to be honest with you, I was more into music at that age. In the 80s, come on, classic 80s stuff, mainly synth pop, Erasure and Yazoo and Depeche Mode and all that sort of stuff. So I was busy going to gigs as soon as I was old enough to do that. Yeah. So I used to go to the cinema and watch films as I grew up, but I was mainly music. So I just thought the film industry was out of my reach, to be perfectly honest with you. So it was not something I did pursue early on in life.
That's a good point then. When did you feel, stepping ahead, that the film industry was within your reach? When did you suddenly think this is something that I could... Tim, start with you. When did you think this is something I can actually get into?
My first recollection, I was at college, so I'd finished... I'd done my O-levels. That's all we had back in those days. Yeah. and I was in sixth form. And I remember finding a book. You know, I'd always been obsessed by behind the scenes stuff. And I remember finding a book. It was a really, really quite a thick book. It was like special effects in film. And I was obsessed about it. And then it wasn't until I was about 24, I think, because I had a chance to go in to do media studies, A-levels, or a job that paid money. And I was 17. I was like, I'm going to take that money. You know, I was going to do that. And it wasn't until about 24. You know, got a bit of money and stuff like that. I thought, I want to do this. So I did a bit of research. I found a college up north that was doing it. And I could actually, it was the final year that I could apply for a grant. It was the last year that I could get a grant to go to college, which I did. And that was kind of my start of my, you know, career into this kind of thing. Yeah, doing it in the college, yeah. And then it's just been, that's ever since.
And it's just stepped up.
Yeah, to where it is now, yeah.
Brilliant. Similar question, though?
Yeah, well, my career in this industry started when I was 43, and at 43 there was no way I thought I was going to change my career. You know, I was on a path running my own business and ticking along with that, doing fine, and I had built my own R2D2 as a hobby, which led to being asked to work with Lucasfilm on the new films to build R2D2 for them. So yeah, it was a happy accident, and I've been there ever since. So living the dream. Yeah, it's amazing. Yeah.
So when you both started on your Star Wars journey, you can put it in those terms, with the films specifically, what was the very first thing you worked on? What was the first thing you put hands to when you started working on the film?
On Star Wars?
Yeah.
I don't remember specifically, because the first job I came in as a model maker on Rogue One, and I was working in the same department as Lee. In fact, we had desks next to each other, and I don't remember specifically what. I mean, I always say 2 tubes because that seems to be like. Yeah. We kind of got a few things on our desk, didn't we? It's kind of like, here you go. This is what you're going to be doing over the course of the time that you're working. But 2 tubes seems to remind me. I mean, I was researching a few things. Like I was involved with the track droids that were briefly seen in Rogue One, and then a bit more in Solo. Yeah. But yeah, I would say 2 tubes. Probably. Yeah. Because
with model making, there's a lot of smaller jobs where there's a bit of sanding, or you're helping someone out with a major build, but you're just doing a tiny element in that. Whereas I remember watching you work on something that you spent most time on from the start, and I think that was, you would right say 2 tubes. I would say. Yeah.
So is that how it works when things come to you? They go, we want you to work on 2 tubes, a mouse droid, and something else. And it comes to your desk. It's got to be timescales, but how does it work in terms of prioritising? Is it all down to what they need and when, speed and such?
I mean, it varies, doesn't it, from project to project, depending on timescales, I think. But most of the time, it is kind of like that. You're kind of pre-designated things.
Yeah, we have a head of department, and they sort of see what all the droids you've got to build, or all the creatures, and then they just distribute the work out amongst the workshop. And hopefully, you either work on your own or as a team. Depends on the size of the creature as well. And the HOD decides really, don't they? They hand the work out.
Yeah, occasionally we have a meeting at the beginning, don't we? And then they'll sit down and go, right, you're going to do this, you're going to do that.
And if you're lucky, you can lay claim to stuff. If you've got an eye on a nice character, you think it's going to be a good one. You try and get in there and get the character. But for me, droids land on my lap mainly, remote control droids. Yeah. So it started with R2. Actually, the very first thing I did was a mouse droid. Right. I just did something just to sort of kind of prove myself when I started in the industry. Yeah. And then obviously we knew we were going to end up doing R2, myself and Oliver Steeples. But yeah, it was the mouse droids for me first. And then there's been other droids since then. Most recently the track droid, which we use mainly in Solo, which Tim helped me with on the drive system. Yeah. I made the body for it and got the dome laser cut and did the paintwork and so on, but Tim did the excellent drive system for that.
So what's your preference when you get a creature or a droid? What element of that do you look forward to the most? Because you probably come from different angles at a similar thing. So are you more interested in the drive system? Are you more interested in the internal structure, making it lighter, quicker, faster? The aesthetic look of it? What is it that lights you up the most?
I just love it. No matter what gets put on my desk, I get obsessed by it. I think with the track droid, we spent a lot of time researching how to get those tracks to work, didn't we? We went down so many different different roads, and eventually we got it. But I just remember once we built it, we had a great time. We were bombing it around outside, even without the thing on top, we were just bombing it all over the place.
We might have tried a chair on it as well and driven ourselves around on it.
I don't doubt it.
Just to check its strength, of course.
Just to see how good it was. But I don't know. Personally, I just love it.
The whole thing. I'd say Tim's more mechanically minded, which is why the drive system lands on Tim's lap rather than mine.
Yeah.
And I can maintain it and assemble it once someone's done all the groundwork and Tim CADs it up or whatever he does. But I'm more of a hands-on, being model making. It's more cutting materials and gluing materials together and whatever, and following plans because we get concept artwork.
Yeah.
And it's the fun bit really is when you get the artwork land on your workbench, how you're going to make a drawing become the full-scale model that it's going to be, or the creature, and just to get that path to get there. That's the fun bit. That's cool.
Well, that's a good point because I assume a lot of you must get 3D representations of things so you get a full look, but a lot of the time you maybe get a 2D. Here you go.
Yeah.
So how do you translate that into a three-dimensional reality? Is there a certain amount of latitude that you've got? That's what I'm trying to say.
There is to a degree. Yeah. Obviously it's you've got the designer who obviously put their heart and soul into it, and it's their character. No matter what you say, it's their design. They try and get involved as much as they can throughout the process. Like with Two Tubes, Luke Fisher designed Two Tubes, and he'd given me a sheet of a design. I had to kind of interpret what he wanted, but he'd always come and input as well. He sculpted pretty much the whole thing. It was just my job to take the mast piece, clean it all up, make it look all nice, do the tubes, and then obviously he would say this, and I'd say, well, what do you think about this? And then he'd obviously
give him options.
Yeah, exactly. He'd input. Options is a good word, I think, isn't it? A lot of the time it's constantly going back between all the departments, making sure everybody is happy. Fabrication become involved. Elizabeth, who worked on Two Tubes as well, she did all the leather work. So she would have an input as well to make sure it's a massive big group of people that all come together.
Because fortunately the concept guys are there while we're working. They usually start a few months ahead of us before the building starts. Because they've got to come up with the ideas. Sometimes they get some guidance on what's required for them from the production team, the director. But they'll get all the concept work done. There'll be a selection. In this case, the most recent film, JJ will go through all the artwork and pick his favourites, and usually, gets post-it notes. Usually, that's his thing, and puts different colours for different requirements, and whether it's going to be a foreground or a background. Then we turn up, and then we get to choose which we're going to build, or the HOD gives us that. But then, fortunately, the concept designers then work through the film up to when filming starts. Usually, isn't it? Once filming starts, they're usually not required as much. But while we're building, they're around, so we can work together and get some guidance and change things if we think it's worthwhile.
Well, you say about foreground, background, and my head logically says if it's foreground, it's like absolutely mint bang on. If it's background, you don't have to put as much detail in it. But that being said, if you see JJ sees that little guy in the background, you go, I want that at the front. You've got to make everything to the same spec.
But this is a good thing about Neil Scanlon. I'll go in charge and stuff. He always tries to, even the most simplest of things, like even with the animatronic heads and stuff like that you get involved in, he tries to get you to put as much in it as possible for that moment that the camera could just go past and it just grabs it, and then it's got some movement. So we did so many animatronic heads for that reason. He didn't want anything to have a static look.
Right.
Like in the casino scene in 8, the amount of animatronic heads we did with that was for that reason. It might be a blink of a second. You might not even see it, the Canto Bite sequence. But I can guarantee probably 90% of those heads were all animatronic, just for that reason and stuff like that.
Because Star Wars fans always pick up on the little guy in the background.
Oh yeah, absolutely. And you're right. You did suggest this, that the director may see something that we assume, and it was selected for deep background, and then no, I really like that because maybe the performer in the costume, in the suit, will do such a good performance and get such a good character out of it. Suddenly they're thrust in front and they become a main character. And if you haven't put so much work into it, you're like, oh my god, I'm going to get found out now, for some dodgy movement in the head or something like that. But luckily, we get away. I can't think of an example, but I know that's happened.
I always think the funny thing is, like with the puppeteers, because I think Neil's always saying to puppeteers, when the camera goes past, just make the head move like this.
Yeah.
So I always imagine like puppeteers are just going like this. So as the camera goes past, he's going like this just to get it on camera, you know. So
Yeah.
So has there ever been a moment when you've took something onto set, when you know it's of quality, you know you've done exactly what you required, and then whichever director looks at it and says, that really nails it? Have you had a moment like that when you thought, yeah, we really knocked this one out of the park?
I don't know.
Can't think of anything.
Because there's so many moving parts, isn't there? So many things going on.
Yeah, I can't think of anything.
I mean, there has been with some stuff, isn't there? But not stuff that I've been directly involved with. Because a lot, it's always like, when you're on set, it's like go like this. So you don't get a chance to really savour the moment, do you?
Yeah, I'll have to think about that one. But yeah, it does happen. Yeah, for sure, it does happen.
Yeah.
It's mainly during the quiet times. People always come up and go, yeah, this is great, I love this.
There's a question then. I mean, a film set's a busy place, there's stuff going on all the time. Are there ever quiet moments? Are there ever times when everyone can just...
Oh yeah, we got to craft quite a bit. No, we don't.
Crafts, we get free food and drink all day. So teas and coffees and it's all day just to keep us going really. Yeah. And if you get a little bit bored, what else can you do but eat and drink? Yeah. So one film I put on a stone in weight during one. I put a stone in weight.
Just a stone.
Just.
So when you go into a project, you're given the defined things that you've been asked to do. They know you. Presumably, the heads of department know your specific skill sets.
Yeah.
Have you ever been given a challenge that you're? Because it's
film.
a classic ILM thing, isn't it? You know, back in the day when they were like, "How are we going to do this, George?" You know, have you ever been given something when you're in the moment you're going, "Oh, I don't know how I'm going to do this."
Yeah,
definitely.
Pretty much every film.
Yeah,
I think,
and I think pretty much everything we build, we get the fear that we want to make it as good as we have in our heads.
Of course.
But if you go down the path and start being like, oh, this isn't working out or whatever, we bounce off each other as well. We go to each other for advice on how to do different things. And again, going to the track system that Tim helped me out with, there's no way I would have been able to do that on my own. So when you see that and like, I actually can't do a component of this. Yeah. But we all do help each other out. But for sure, sleepless nights.
Yeah, I would say everything.
Yeah, you go home and if some things just don't go together well, and how am I going to do this? And we've got deadlines as well.
Yeah.
So you can't hide behind that, and it's expected to be on set at a particular day, and you can't say, "Oh, sorry, I haven't finished it today. Can we do it tomorrow?" No, they will not hold up filming just for one thing that you haven't built. No. It has to be ready. So you've got the pressure of that.
It's definitely one of the rarest jobs where everything you build is different every single time.
Yeah.
So nothing. I can't think of anything where I've gone right. I'll do exactly what I did on this. Yeah. Everything is the same. We have a phrase we say, everything's a prototype, which essentially everything is. Everything we build is built as a prototype standard. It's built for sole purpose of being on set, doing its stuff, and then that's it.
Yeah.
It's
everything's bespoke, sort of thing.
Yeah, basically, yeah. So everything's different and stuff like that. But that's the excitement about the job, isn't it?
Yeah.
It's just every day is something unique.
And do you think that helps, that fear factor, in the best sense, to make you creative?
Yeah.
Oh yeah, for sure.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah, there's nothing like a bit of pressure. Yeah.
Yeah.
I quite enjoy the pressure. But when I'm on set, if something goes wrong, that's your moment. That's great, because if it's your thing you're working on, you get the fear, you've got to get it working, and it's horrible at the time, but the adrenaline rush when you get through that and you fix it and you get it working and you're back on set and you're in front of the camera again, that's you get a sense of achievement during that as well. Yeah. So maybe I'm a bit mad liking that, but I love the fear of when it goes wrong.
Yeah. I think also from an artistic point of view as well, is because most you treat everything as an artistic view. If you didn't have a deadline, you would spend a year building one thing, trying to perfect it as best as you could, so it would never get done.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah. You're both Star Wars fans, so you've got the eye. You kind of know what looks like a Star Wars thing and what.
Yeah,
what
I'd like to think so. Yeah.
Do you ever get moments when either you're looking at designs or you're building something even, and there's just that little flag going, this don't quite feel.
100%.
Yeah.
100%. Yeah, definitely. Tim?
I could neither confirm nor deny.
I wasn't going to be specific on anything. anything that I've built or anyone else has built. But there are times where, and a lot of it doesn't make it,
Sure.
But there's other times where you think, oh, this is not very Star Wars. But usually, once you've painted it and it's put in its
In the
environment,
environment,
which the environment you may have never seen before,
Sure.
but then it suddenly is a Star Warsy environment and it fits in the scene, then you don't. Actually, that does work.
Yeah.
And that's where the production team and the directors have got the eye
Yeah.
that necessarily we haven't, where we've just got this standalone character
That's
thinking, where's this going to work?
They're the generals
But it-
looking down
yeah.
at the battlefield.
Yeah,
sort of thing.
that's right. Yeah.
Yeah, I don't know. Because I just love building stuff. So I have this, conversation with a few of my friends and stuff, and I just love building. So in the end, for me, it's not really. I just love the whole idea of process of building. So sometimes the end result to me doesn't really bother me too much.
Yeah.
I love what I do. I love building it, get it on set, then it's done. Then we move on to the next thing. I think I joked with a friend of mine that one of the last things I did, I built it, and I'd have been happy if it wasn't shot on or it wasn't used. I'd have been like, I was just chuffed
So
that I
much
built
fun
something.
building it. Yeah.
That if it doesn't get shot, it doesn't matter. It's just.
We're in a very fortunate position as well in our department, is the fact that we do get to go on set with them as well.
Yeah.
Because a lot of other departments that are working on Star Wars at Pinewood, the props, for example, mass produce the blasters.
Yeah.
And you only need one or two people to look after the props on set. So you've got a big team building, and they're stuck in the workshop, which they may enjoy. They might not want to go on set. But fortunately, most of us get to build and then take it on set and perform it, remote control it, or at least look after the creature on set, which is nice. So you get to see the job through to the end, which is pretty cool, isn't it, Tim? It's a nice thing that we feel quite privileged to be able to do as well.
And in that sense, you're the droid wrangler or the creature wrangler, because like you say, if there's an issue, the gubbins, you can get in and fix it.
Yeah, there are times where you have to look after other people's droids because they're either back at the workshop still making, because while they're filming, we are sometimes still making stuff which is going to be used at the end of the film. And you're itching to be on set, but someone else has to look after it. There's nothing worse than looking after somebody else's build.
Yeah.
Because if it does go wrong, you may not necessarily know how it works. So that can be a bit scary at times, can't it, Tim? But
also we've had incredible moments, haven't we? Like when we did the Sabak room in Solo. Yeah. I just remember the first day turning up to go on set, and round the back, so you had the Sabak table set, and then around the back there was like a corner for everyone who was involved with that. And it was ridiculous. There was like 30 puppeteers, there was like 20 crew, and there was 50 of us just hanging out in this everyone who loves Star Wars and just massive geeks. It's one of the best on set moments. For me, Sabak was one of the best.
Yeah,
I feel
it was very cool.
Just because of what what happened.
That scene came out amazing, though, didn't it?
Yeah,
the amount of stuff that was going on in there.
Yeah.
Yeah, but we're all spread out in the workshop, aren't we? Working on our own thing for the Sabak table. But like you say, once we're all together, you see the sheer scale of it, and oh my God, that we know there's a lot of us, but when you see them all together, that's the sheer volume of the amount of people that are involved in one scene.
Here's a random question: are there many people working on the Star Wars films that aren't Star Wars fans?
I would say there's a degree.
Not many in our department, I would say.
Yeah, maybe I don't know really. It's a difficult one. You don't really talk.
Yeah, I've met a few.
Yeah.
On set, whether they be in vehicles or set dressing or whatever. I have met a few, and it is just another job.
Yeah.
Albeit they realise it's a cool job.
Sure.
But it could be any film that they're working on. Yeah, for sure. But with me and Tim, we're Star Wars fans anyway, and Star Wars is the only thing I've worked on in the film industry over the last 6 years that I've been in it.
Yeah.
I don't think you can better it.
No.
So if I was to go and work on something else, I'm not sure I'd have the same passion about it.
The same. For me, it's been the best job so far I've ever done.
Yeah. Yeah.
So what? Okay, there's a leading question there. If you were able to do something else, if you wanted to do something else, as a fan of sci-fi and fantasy and films, what do you think might catch your eye? Past or present even, let's open it up a bit.
I don't know. I mean, I would be quite keen if they end up doing the Judge Dredd TV show. That's something I'd like to be involved in. Yeah. But I don't know
there's nothing else I've ever thought of really. No, and people do ask me this, why? Because I've got my own business, so when I don't do Star Wars, I go back home and work on my business. And they said, well, if any other work came forward, what would you like to work on? Why don't you go and look for more film work? there's nothing I can think of.
Yeah.
So
same.
No, don't have an answer for that. Sorry.
It's a bit of a
Stick to Star Wars. It's worth. It's definitely worth.
Yeah.
So of the things that you've done so far, what has given you the greatest pleasure? Because obviously people know you for R2. People know you for the creatures and the various builds that you've done as well. So what if you were to put a pin in it and go, that's the one thing, I'll put that on my, pin that on my wall or whatever. What do you think is the one thing that you would take away?
Well, as regards, how do you mean? Sorry.
The most satisfying thing that you've built that came out better or as you expected, or that you would use as your calling card almost.
I think for me the croupier is a small little fellow that was in 8, sorry.
Yeah.
And you only see it briefly, but it was
In the casino.
in the casino. Yeah, for me it was the best little job I had, because it was a little, I was given a brief, a little creature that runs along the table,
Yeah.
and I just had to figure it out, and I had no idea how I was going to do it, and I got into it, and for some reason it was the most. I wasn't stressed doing it as well. I think I'd kind of reached that point where I was enjoying it so much that I just kind of got into it, and I just, from that point onwards, to taking it on set, to shooting it. I had Dave Chapman and Brian Herring puppeteering it. The guys who do puppeteering for BBA, and that was probably 2 Tubes is a good second,
Sure.
because I just enjoyed making it, and they loved it so much they're like, well, let's make 2, and I got to work with Aidan as well, and Paul Casey, and but I think Croupier is probably one of my favourite little fellas.
Just off the back of that, then, when you're to the point where you're like, bring it on, this is working, I'm on a bit of a hot streak. Do you kind of know when you've hit your groove on any specific production? It kind of feels like when that one came to you, you'd be like, I'm ready for this.
No, it's a tricky one. It's the whole artistic thing again, of where I don't think an artistic. I hate to use the word artistic because I make stuff, but when you start building stuff, you become so obsessed with it that you're never happy with it, no matter what you build.
Yeah.
You'll always think to yourself, I could always make it better. I think it's Dick Smith, one of the great makeup artists in our thing, has always said, that the moment you ever become happy with something, that's the moment you should quit, because I think you naturally get kind of so involved in it that you always think to yourself, even when you're on set and it's being filmed, you're always self-critical of your own work, aren't you? People come up and go, oh, that's great, it's fantastic, and you're like, it's not that good, it could have been,
I've learned to keep quiet about my gripes now, because if you start pointing things out that you're not happy with, then you feel you may get people agreeing with you, which you don't want, because that doesn't help.
You sound so thank you.
Exactly. Yeah, you just finish it, they compliment you in it, and you take it, you run with it, But I'm never happy with anything that I've finished. Really, there's always something. But if you reuse it, you then get a bit of time to maybe take it that little step further as well. Sometimes I have done with R2 for sure. And he's had a bit more natural weathering and stuff like that. Henrik does a great job, don't get me wrong, with the paint jobs that he does. But it's still nice to have this natural weathering to R2, which sort of has grown into him, which is great. As the films have gone on, the trilogy I've done, R2 definitely looks different from then to now. And it's not a repaint, it's just natural weathering, which is great.
So when you say you get to a point where you don't want to be happy, because complacency is the worst thing in the world.
Yeah.
But is it a case of, I wish I had more time? Is it, I don't know, is it a case of, I wish we had more funds, I wish the materials were better? What are the aspects that you would be a stopper to you reaching that point?
I suppose it's always time, really, isn't it? But like Tim said, how much time do you want?
Yeah.
With the R2 builders that build their own ones at home, we used to take up to 2-3 years, and sometimes longer.
Yeah.
And they're really good, they're great.
Yeah.
But we have months to build. So I think it's always a time thing, really.
I think it's time and just your own inner demons, fighting.
And there's usually we've got more than one build on the go as well.
Yeah, exactly.
You'll have something queued up. You know what you'll be doing next, so you'll be building your droid or your creature, knowing what's coming next. So you want to gain some time if you can, and borrow time, I think, off of other builds, so it doesn't all come crashing into each other.
Yeah.
So you've got that in the back of your mind as well.
When you're working in a team, how does it work in the shop? Are you put into teams? Are you set to projects individually? Do you organically come together to solve problems? How does that team process work?
I think it's very departmentalised. So, you know, the head of our department, Gustav, will say, right, okay, team, you're going to do this. Yeah. And then you're going to speak to fabrication, and the fabrication department will go, okay, this lady or this man is going to be doing this. Yeah. And then it's like, okay, this bit needs bits need doing. So then they'll go to the model section, and then whoever's in charge of models at that time will go, okay, this person's going to do this. Sometimes it's organic, isn't it, because of the time thing, you know. So
suddenly if someone's on top of a job and they've got some spare time, you'll spot who's struggling, and you go and offer to help them and bail them out, you know, and assist them with their build. Yeah. So it's a bit organic, but at the start of the job, usually you know whether you're going to be on your own or not.
Yeah, I think each department assigns certain people to certain things, and then you just kind of get together and work together to do it all and stuff like that.
And how many departments are involved in putting one thing together? Because like you say about an animatronic, for example, there's the guys that build all the rigs inside, there's the moulding on the outside, and there's lots of different levels to...
Yeah, there's loads, isn't there? I mean, there's obviously Neil, you know, he's
our boss.
He's our boss,
Creatures.
Yeah. Then you've obviously got the design department, the concept guys. Then you've got animatronics, mechie department. Then you've got sculptors. Yeah. Then you've got fabrication. Then you've got...
Which do the soft furnishings, like the padding underneath the suits and so on.
Yeah.
Model section.
Model making, which is a little bit of dressing and so on, which is what I'm in.
Electronics, like Matt's dentist department, you know, he deals with making sure it's all electronics safe and putting on any systems to make it, you know, to make it work or anything like this. And then you've got paint department. Right. Then you've got the mould shop department as well, that obviously do all the moulding and all that kind of stuff. Yeah, there's
So that's just for a creature.
I was going to say, logistically, that could be a nightmare.
That's just for a creature department. So you've still got the props, which are completely separate from us. We don't get involved in them at all. Yeah. Obviously, some of our creatures will have props.
Yeah.
So we have to work with them. And costume, that's right. So they'll have costumes as well with the animatronic heads. So we do have to work with those other departments.
So one department
could have
up to nine. Yeah. One creature could have
nine different elements within our creatures department.
And then there's the performers as well, isn't there?
And then the
performers, exactly. Yeah. And then we've got the office people, which are booking in the performers and buying the materials and that as well.
Then you've got Lackey, who looks after all the video equipment as well. Then you've got video assists that have to come involved as well. Camera department involved.
It's huge. And we get to creatures department at capacity. I think gets about 120 people. I think it is, Tim. Is it something like that?
I've never counted, but it's a lot.
Well, I've never counted.
I know it's like, I think I worked out statistically, it's like there's one birthday. I mean, it got ridiculous at one point, didn't it? Because 120 people, so that's one out of
one every 3 days, basically.
Yeah, basically. So like every year, every few days,
suddenly a card will come round. Whose birthday is it now? And that's
which was great because there was cake, all the time. So go down there, get some cake, and then come back. But it was getting a bit sick. Like every single day, there'd be a card.
Yeah.
Oh Christ. Cake.
So on set, everything's going nuts. Actors running around, directors making it all happen. Whatever unit you might be working on. Personal question to each of you now. What's you kind of? I think you might have already alluded to it. The Sabak scene in Solo. But what moment did you stand back as a Star Wars fan and go, "This is the best thing ever"?
I've got one.
Go on, after you.
Rogue One.
Yes.
Yeah. My first time on set, I think, wasn't it? When we did, we went to, was it Canary Wharf?
Yes.
Yeah. And we did, Lee kind of got me involved, and I was doing a mouse droid. Right. Controlling the mouse droid in front of loads of stormtroopers. And that was just the best night I'd ever had. I think mainly because there was a moment when I was we were not doing anything, we were just sitting around waiting for stuff, and I was standing up, and there was a load of stormtroopers, 20 or 30 stormtroopers just running, and they were just doing a scene where they were running like this, and I was standing, and all I can remember was looking over and seeing 30 stormtroopers run towards me, and I turned to Lee and said, "This is the best day ever."
And you kept coming on the radio, "We're doing Star Wars, we're doing Star Wars." Yes,
Tim, it was just, I know. It was phenomenal, but it's just, I was driving a mouse droid in front of loads of Imperial, it was just like,
And the logistics of running that was unbelievable, because we had to wait, we were all waiting in Canary Wharf, which at the weekend is really quiet. It's bustling. Canary Wharf is during the day in the week, but in the evenings it's fairly quiet, and it's just a through station really. So we were all parked up up on the main road in all our film vehicles, waiting to descend on the underground station when it closed. So as soon as we got on the radio that the last train had left, we all descended on the platform, set dressed everything, and then we were shooting, and we knew we had to be out of there by 5 in the morning, I think. So then we had to clear all the set out and disappear, you know. And
they were still shooting, weren't they, when we were actually leaving?
That's right. Yeah,
like we were running through the shot, and they were
exactly. Yeah, we were trying to get out as quickly as we could.
Wow.
But the funny thing is that Secret Cinema, Empire Strikes Back, was on at the time.
Yep.
And I was just milling around waiting for the station to close, and I went down onto the platform just for the hell of it. And there were stormtroopers and rebel pilots walking around on the platform. I was thinking, hang on a minute, those guys are supposed to be upstairs hiding. But no, it was passengers from Secret Cinema going through the station. Little did they know that within a few hours we were going to be shooting Star Wars for real on that platform, which was good fun. And they actually rehearsed dressing the set the night before. So set dressing went there the night before at midnight, descended on site and did a full dress rehearsal to make sure that they could set up and clear out in time. So the logistics involved for one night's filming for a very quick scene on Canary Wharf Station, again, is just phenomenal.
People don't realise, like you say, that's the big word, isn't it? Logistics in every single element.
It's planned down to a T. It's like a military exercise.
Yeah.
You know?
For me, my moment was, again, one of my first jobs I did filming on location was at Greenham Common, which was the rebel base for Force Awakens. And that was phenomenal because Greenham Common was iconic anyway from the, as American air base and the missiles and the protesting, the women protesting and so on. As a kid, I grew up seeing that, and it was quite an iconic place for the wrong reasons. So to be filming there just was an amazing place to be anyway. Yeah. But then you walk on set, and it was like being on Star Wars. It was, it was unbelievable. It was so cool, and we filmed some great stuff there with R2, and some of it wasn't seen, unfortunately, but that was the special moment for me, for sure.
Brilliant. We are getting close to end time. Does anybody in the audience have a quick couple of questions? If you want to pop your hands up, anything you want to ask?
Don't be shy.
Oh, here we go.
When you're sort of building something and they say, "Oh, no, we don't quite like that," do you recycle those bits, or do you get to take your own?
We just really sulk.
We are not allowed to take anything home. It is a shame, but they've got aware now of the value of all this stuff. So, it becomes property of Lucasfilm as soon as you start building it. So there's no way. But fortunately, everything we've built has been used, hasn't it? Yeah. And if they're not happy with it, then they do give you criticism, which we have to be open to, and it doesn't ever offend me at all because, they know best, or we've got to accept that they know best.
I think,
and we just improve it really and get it right.
I think you're right. I don't think we've not built one thing that's never been used. Yeah. Everything it does, they do. They've got an obsession with practical effects. They really brought it in from 7, and they really do. Shoehorn it in as much as they can. It's quite fascinating.
That's a great percentage. How many things do you think you've built, if you had to put a figure on it?
A lot.
Yeah.
Just
for Solo was my busiest droids job, and we made over 50 droids, and there was only ever 4 of us in the department at one time. Over about less than 12 months, we built these droids, over 50 of them, and that was quite impressive. I've got a shot actually of all the droids. I don't know if I've got it.
Did we do loads of creatures for something for 8? Keep trying to think. Was there a load of
the caretakers? There was a lot of caretakers.
Yeah, there was quite a few of those. The porgs, all the porgs. There was quite a few of those.
Yeah, I haven't put a number on it actually. No. Interestingly, there's not many things I've built completely myself. I've always been part of a team. But no, I've not put a count on it. Have you? Have you ever counted, Tim?
No. I would dare to. It's a lot. Yeah.
The young man at the back that had a question. Sorry to interrupt you.
Oh.
Yes, mate.
What's the hardest creature or droid or anything?
Sorry, the hardest
thing to make.
The hardest thing to make. Good question.
Deadlines?
It's for me, because I'm not mechanically minded, is an animatronic head. I see these animatronic heads that the guys build, and they look really difficult. Now, Tim would say not so difficult because that's
No, I
what
wouldn't.
okay, there you go. So, an animatronic head, I would say, because how many servos do some of the big heads have in them? 60 plus?
Well, six eyes, the one that Gustav made, and Matt, that was 54, I think, servos.
Yeah.
That was the biggest, one of the biggest things I think for that. Yeah.
Fantastic. Well, thanks everybody for coming and listening to this talk. Thanks to Lee and to Tim. And
Pleasure.
We'll be back later with more panels, but thank you guys.
Thank you.
Hello, it's the Star of the Force Awakens Constable Zuvio here. Now, thank you for watching this video, and if you haven't already, don't forget to subscribe, because there are plenty more videos on the channel, and we have new ones every Wednesday and every Saturday, and if something exciting happens, something in between as well.